We simply talked about before in our fundamentals about our transition. And transition is something that is truly valuable for every wide receiver in the country. It's how fast you can get in and out of your breaks. How fast can you come back to the ball? So this next drill is just a diagonal cone drill in what we call our transition cuts. And basically like we did in our two-step transition, we want to break it down in two phases and really emphasize each phase. The first phase being, that was already stated, was our extend step. The next phase is our transition step. And the cones are set up basically to be as the quarterback or the direction that we want to go into. So as I push up and make an extend step, overemphasizing shoulders over our toes and keeping everything under the framework of our body and in a cylinder, we want to make sure that next, our second step, our transition step, is going in the direction that we want it to go to, and that is, in this drill, the next cone. So as you see guys come up in this drill, they're going to take an extend step at the top. They're going to pause, making sure that next foot is off the ground, and then they're going to be violent and transition to the next cone. Violent and transition to the next cone. Keeping it tight, not hopping to the cone, sticking it and transition. Sticking it and transition. It's a really good job right here of getting it going and getting that knee going into the direction that we want it to go into and keeping our arms tight. Now right here, as you can see, this next individual kind of gets up there into that first cone, that extra step. Obviously that step right there means that the balance in his body is kind of off. And that may come from a lot of times guys sitting back in the top end of the route or not being under control up to the cone. But we want to make sure when we go to make that extend step on the cone that our shoulders are over our toes. We never want to be getting caught transitioning to the next direction without having our shoulders over our toes. Right here, he's just over sticking the extend step. Remember, we always want that over the framework of our body. It's a good job right here of getting the knee up and going. We just got to finish at the end of the drill. It's a really good job right here. We don't want to be caught bending over in our shoulders and in our back. So as he's kind of crunched up a little bit, we kind of want to be relaxed. We want to run relaxed as a receiver through all our routes and all our cuts. It's a really good job right here on the pause, but make sure that our shoulders is over our toes. Now, the second time through, we will go through a much faster pace with no pause. Now we're going. So now you're going to get the chance to see the knee going into that direction from a faster pace. And one of the things I like to look at when we go at a faster pace is making sure we're not oversticking or overextending at the top end of our route. Making sure that if we laid out there a cylinder or any kind of hurdle that we're not going outside the framework of our body. We never want to get outside of our own shadow. In those cases, when you do overstick, your feet tend to slide up under you or slide away from you, and you can't transition onto the next cut. Still coming through these, we want to make sure our arms are tight. We're beating the drums at the top. Beating the drums at the top, live hands. A lot of the times, a lot of the problems that happen with young wide receivers or wide receivers anywhere is you lose your hands at the top end of your route. That's something we really don't want to do, and that's why we overemphasize beating the drums. A lot of catches are missed in football because the hands have to shoot from below the waist instead of from up above the waist. So as you can see, we're going through fast pace on this one and just really sticking it and moving on to the next direction. We don't want to get as oversticked right there. One of the things also to watch in this deal is just making sure that you're not rising and your pad level isn't getting any higher than the position that you start in. So we really want to make sure that our shoulders are down in a forward lean position at all times and we're not hopping to the next cut or transitioning too high.